Hello, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, if they're watching too. Thank you guys all for joining me on my first ever live stream. First ever live stream show for Merlo's Movie Massacre. How are you guys doing? Say something in the chat if you are there, if anybody's there. Hopefully, we got somebody at least on at this point. Say hi. Just say hi. You know, you can give one of those wave things. Who do we got in the chat? For our first ever episode? Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first time I'm doing a live show like this, so hopefully it's not going to be too bad. You got Nurse Marie. Is it Mary or Marie? I think it's Marie. Says, hey. Scott P says, hey, Steve. Hey, Leatherface. That is the same Scott P, I think, right? Thank you guys for joining me. And I'm sure more people will join as we go along. It was just the right timing for this. Today is October 1st. Happy October 1st, everybody. Today, October 1st, is the day that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in theaters 46 years ago. Wow, that's before I was born. So 46 years ago, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in theaters and changed the world of horror, that's for sure. I think we can all agree with that. So today, for my first ever live show, it felt very necessary to do my personal rankings for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. You guys can tell me what your rankings are, but these are my personal rankings, and I'll kind of tell you how I rate them as well. But I think most of you who know me know, if you guys know me already, if you've seen saw my last stream I did discussing our film, which, by the way, is still crowdfunding. Another 28 days left. We're very, 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 very close to our first production goal. I think we're just $125 away. Let's see if we can get it to that goal of 3K by the end of our show here. So link is in the description, I think. But yes, we're just $125 shy of that goal. So help us out. Share it with all your friends and family and everything. I'm getting some people telling me they can't get in. I'm just going to respond. So, yes, I will give my rankings here in just a bit. A couple of announcements, though. Bear with me, folks. People are messaging me. Hopefully they understand what's going on. Because, yes, you do have to be logged into your YouTube account to be commenting. If you want to comment on this, you do have to be logged into your YouTube account. You can't just be browsing. Yeah, so that's how you got to do it. I also started a Patreon just yesterday. It's not something I'm really good at yet, so I think there's going to be a lot of kinks to work out in that. I want to be a Leatherface. Ricardo Moore. Well, you could be killed by Leatherface. It's one of the perks in our campaign. Leatherface is in the chat. Say hi to Scott P. Say hi to Ricardo Moore. Say hey. You guys can hook up and talk. There you go. So we just started a Patreon. I'm probably going to be pushing it more as I learn more about Patreon. A friend told me to get on Patreon like 3 years ago, and I had started it, but never quite finished it because I was having troubles. I'm not the most techie guy in the world, but I finally got to the point where I've launched it. I just got to work out some of the details a little bit better. But basically, anybody who signs up as a Patreon, the money that you do sign up with will go into the film. Just so you guys know, that'll go towards our next campaign that we're going to have in the spring. Most likely have in the spring, unless we raise like a lot of money with this campaign with 28 days left. You never know. It's all possible. It's all very possible. Because we are also going to be having a contest. The contest, I'm just going to announce this contest. It's a horror trivia contest that we're going to be doing through the Public Square meet and greet app, event app. We did that with we did the meet and greet with some of the cast there a couple weeks ago, and it went really well. So our goal is we're going to do it again. We're going to have one of the other actresses in the film go on with me, and we're going to kind of co-host that event, and it'll be a horror movie trivia. So if you're good at horror movie trivia, you're going to want to be in this. There will be perks from the campaign given away as prizes. There will be a small door prize, like a raffle prize, and the winner of the trivia will also get a much bigger prize. It'll be worth, in the $200 to $500 range, somewhere in there. So that's a really cool thing to announce. We'll be announcing more of that on the Sawyer Massacre Facebook page and Twitter as well. Maybe even Instagram will probably post something about that. That's like an official announcement about that. But it is October 25th. We're still just working out the times and stuff. There you go. It looks like Ricardo and Scott have connected a little bit. There you go. And Nurse Marie says, "I rather eat with him." Times 3. Times 3. Yes, Scott. There you go. Yeah, great. So yeah, I will get into our topic, which is my personal rankings of the film franchise. Now, typically, when I'm doing a ranking sort of thing, I like to usually go from bottom to most, least favorite to favorite sort of thing. That's just the way I would normally do it. But I figure because you guys already know that the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my number one. If you don't, you definitely don't know me very well. So, hopefully you guys all know that the original is definitely my number one. It is definitely my number one. Yeah, it's just an amazing film. It's what more can I say? So I'm gonna go from my one to my least favorite. There might be some shockers in there for you, but needless to say, if I'm being totally honest with everyone, the original is the only one that really gets me. It's the only one that truly gets me. So all these other ones are kind of mediocre to honestly god awful, some of them. It's just my opinion. And you don't have to agree with me. You know what? And you know what? Voice your opinions. I want to hear from you guys. What did you like about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 or whatever, the remake? And there's fan bases for these films. And I respect that. But I don't agree with it usually, for the most part. I tend to not agree with people on certain things, and that's fine, Return of the Jedi is the greatest Star Wars film, not Empire Strikes Back, and I'll get a lot of hate for that, but I don't care because to me it is. It's all opinions, people. It's art. It is subjective, so let's keep it civil in the chat. Let's all respect people's opinions. Thank you so much. You know what? I have to say, since I've started doing this, I was expecting to get a lot of spamming chatting in the chat. I haven't seen any of that. Hey, Mariaka, you made it. You logged in. Good stuff. Did you have to create your own account or create a brand new account? You're on. That's all that matters. Thank you for joining. Yes, so my personal ranking. So obviously the original, we're going to start talking about that. The original is obviously my number one. It was the first film that truly scared me and truly disturbed me. I was so young when I saw it. I was probably 11 or 12, and I think I'd seen like pieces of it long before that when I was a really like a little kid, and it was just, I was told that's rated R. You don't watch something that's rated R. But you saw like little bits of it, and it was just, we weren't allowed to watch that when we were that young. But I had seen like little clips. Um, but I finally saw it when I was about, I think, 11 or 12, when I finally first actually saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it was, I kind of wondered what's the deal with his face, and I can't remember who was that actually told me what's going on. What his faces are actually, what his faces. I say multiple faces because he wore three faces in it, and that just disturbed the hell out of me. Of course, I didn't really fully get it at that time. It's something I had to really kind of learn more about as I got older. All this, the subliminal stuff there about cannibalism and all that. I didn't really get that at the first time I watched it. But, the more you watch it, the more things really make sense in that film. And I think that's one of the things that gets me. Movies at that age that are disturbing, you never forget. Exactly. It's always going to be a film I never forget. Yeah. So, without saying anything, I mean, it was, and Leatherface was definitely the most realistic he ever could have been in that film. He feels like a real person. Like, when he appears on screen, you believe you could run into that person down in Texas somewhere, that he's actually in some farmhouse, luring kids or whatever to his place. Where did all these missing kids go? All they're eaten by Leatherface. You see all these posters for missing kids. I bet they're eaten by the real Leatherface, if there is one, which there could be. I'm just saying that's very, very possible. There could be. It was the first film that amazed me. Says Nurse Marie. Nurse Marie, are you actually a nurse, or is that really your first name? Just curious. I'm curious. I get curious sometimes. But cool name. If your first name is Nurse, that's pretty cool. I've never met anybody named Nurse before. Leatherface just amazes me in many ways. There you go. And it doesn't matter whether it's the original or the remake version or the last version we saw. That's cool. It's, the idea of Leatherface to me it really scares me. The idea of there's this cannibal out there that wears his victims' faces as masks. Cool. Frightening stuff, really. And it's just so possible. It really is. So moving on to my second favorite in the franchise. But even though this is my second favorite, it's really kind of, it's maybe a 5 out of 10 for me. It really is. It's mediocre. But I have to say there are certain things that I do love about it. There are certain things I do love about this film. And that's the 2003 remake. Okay, now when that film came out, I was like first in line to go see it. I'm not kidding. Because I had seen all the sequels to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And, I don't want to spoil my list down the road, but, needless to say, I was ready for something that was going to be scary again. And from what I had seen from the TV trailers, I guess you could say, it gave me the impression that it was actually going to be pretty scary and disturbing. I still remember that. I remember when I first saw a TV spot for the remake. And it's just, I was like mesmerized right off the bat. I'm like, oh my God, is this real? Is this real? Is this really happening? Are we going to get a real Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? As real as we can get, I guess. And that's okay. But, ultimately there's a lot of stuff that falls short in that film. But let me talk about the stuff I like about the remake first, okay? Because there is quite a few things to like about it. First off, the opening scene with all the police footage, The evidence and John Larroquette's narration and the crime scene investigation with the cops going down the bay. Oh, that was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it set the movie up to be an incredibly scary and disturbing film. It really had. I actually thought maybe this might actually be too much for me. I was 23 years old, and I'm thinking it while watching it. This actually might be too much for me. And nothing's too much for me, but I was like ready for a really, really scary ride. So that opening scene definitely does that for me. That opening scene is brilliant, brilliant, and boy, oh boy, John Larroquette's voice just it suited it even more that he had aged. His voice got deeper and more seasoned. And it was perfect. It was a great intro to the film. Also, as far as likes go, gotta love Ronald Lee Ermey in that film as the sheriff. The sheriff was great. I cannot deny that. The sheriff was great. He was funny in moments, but he was still creepy. It was a perfect balance. There was some comedic elements to him, but a creepiness to him as well. You knew that he was bad. You knew that he was bad right off the bat. You could just tell, like, this. He's playing a bad guy here, and he played it so well. He was so believable in that character. So I have to give props to that. And some of the other family members of the Hewitt family in that case were actually pretty good too. The older lady was really good at the gas station or the store at the beginning, and great later on as well. She was creepy. She had a creepy essence to her, and the guy with his legs cut off, he was pretty creepy too. So there was those elements. Also some great cinematography. I like a lot of the camera movements. Maybe a little bit more slick than you would want for a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Believe it or not, it was the same cinematographer, same director of photography, Danny Pearl from the original. Did both. The original and the remake. Did a great job. You could tell he knew what he was doing. That's for sure. And I kind of like that the look of it, the overall look. I guess like the color grade and everything they did with it. It had the right look for the time. So those are probably my best compliments to the film. Talking about the negatives now, gotta say it. The characters of like the young characters, the victims, for the most part, pretty much all the characters were not great characters themselves. I would say that the nerdy guy, he was a pretty good actor. I felt him in that car scene with Arlie Ermey when he's being interrogated in the backseat of the van. I felt his fear, and that was good. So but his character overall was kind of, I don't know, he was kind of weak to me. The girl that killed herself at the beginning, I felt her acting, she was good. Again, she wasn't in it very long, but I felt some genuine fear from her. No idea who that chick is, but she was good. But I hate to say it, I don't like Jessica Biel. Her acting felt forced. The other girl, and I can't even remember her name. I would remember it if I heard it. Type it in the chat if you can tell me the name of the other girl that was in the amongst the 5 kids in the remake. Didn't really care much for her either. Her screaming was a little bit forced in moments for sure. It felt a little bit too much. It was not realistic to me. And the 2 other guys there, I don't know. It's not like cringeworthy acting, but it's not great acting. It ruined it for me. Another thing that really ruins the remake for me is a lot of the costume design. Jessica, yeah, I'm not talking about Jessica Biel. I'm talking about the other girl. Anyways, but yeah, Jessica Biel. I think she's pretty overrated as an actress. But I mean, people love her because I guess she's damn sexy. Which I probably did at the time as well. Now I'm like, I don't know. My tastes have really kind of changed. And I mean, I'm married now. I guess maybe that's why. When you get married, you don't look at other women like you used to. What was I talking about here? Oh, the costume design was another big downer for me. I mean, you look at here, and it goes congruent with Jessica Biel. Look at what she's wearing in that movie. Did you ever see anybody in 1973 wear that outfit? Wear an outfit like that. I mean, it's some of the costumes were, you know, working with that time period, but most of them, especially the teen kids. I mean, I just it doesn't feel like 1970s to me. It really didn't feel like it was 1970s. So little things like that really. Oh, is that Erica Learson? Learson, probably Learson. Yeah, I think that rings a bell. That rings a bell. Has she been in anything else? I don't know. If I feel like I've seen her before, but I just she's kind of forgettable to me. Yeah. So what can I say? But yeah, the costume design, Leatherface looks stupid to me in the remake. I won't talk too much about it, but I know a lot of people think Leatherface looks badass in the remake, and that's cool. That is cool. I can see why. I can see why people will say that. Um, and I guess in some ways he does look badass. But he doesn't look like a realistic badass. I think that's my issue. Is I don't feel like he's a real person. I feel like they tried to turn him into a monster rather than a human being that was just a really sick, twisted human being, like he was in the original. Um, and so that's my complaints with it. The costume was, who in Texas wears that? And I've said this before. You probably heard me if you tuned into my last chat that I did what day was that? Saturday? I think it was Saturday. Where I was just discussing basically our film and how we're going to be different. I mentioned that his costume looks like a bunch of potato sacks with elbow pads. It looks like he made his costume out of potato sacks. That's the closest thing I can think of that it looks like. It looks something like that. It's very, very heavy. It's way too heavy to wear something like that in the summertime in Texas. And trust me, I've heard from enough people that live in Texas now that I know that is a very improbable thing. And I mentioned this the other day too. The original actor that played Leatherface in the remake had to quit because he got heat stroke. Just saying. Yeah, so they ended up casting the other guy. Anyways, moving on. I could talk about the remake for a while, but got to move on. And I have to admit, some of these other ones on my list I haven't seen for a while. I could update my list at some point, and if I actually feel like watching some of these again, honestly, it's tough. But you never know. I mean, some of these in here could vary based on if I watch them again, and maybe I'll enjoy them better. And in recent years, but I mean, a lot of these I've seen like once or twice, and didn't really care enough for them to watch them again. If I'm being honest, I've watched that remake more than once. Just I keep trying to like it. It's when I want to get it above a 5. It's like a 5 out of 10 for me right now. I would like to be able to say I like it more than that, but I don't. It's a missed opportunity. Hey, Susie joined the chat. Hey, Susie, how you doing? Good to see you. You were on Saturday as well, as I recall. Thank you for joining. Keep chatting, and again, you guys can feel free to send in your rankings of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Moving on now to my third favorite in the franchise. this is, another one a lot of people like. I'm not a huge. I just, I'm not a big fan of a lot of all these other ones, to be honest with you. But you know, but this one has its fan base, and that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Um, I can sum this up by saying a critic actually said this about the film because it was directed by Tobe Hooper, who directed the original as well. He said, "Not only does this film, this might not be a direct quote, by the way, but it's pretty darn close." He said, "Not only does this film not feel like it was directed by the same filmmaker as the original, it looks like it was made by somebody who never even saw the original." Something like that. It was a critic that said that, and I kind of agree. It's just so polar opposite of what the original was. Um, there are some good things. We'll talk about the good things about it first. Um, the best thing that to me that stands out is the return of Jim Seedow as the cook, as Drayton Sawyer, as he was called in that one. That's the first time we heard the name Sawyer, I guess, and so that's a good thing about it too. The Sawyers were born, but honestly, kind of at the same time, I don't. I kind of wish we never knew the name of the family because it's giving more away than I would personally like. Um, just saying. Scott P says, "Ouch." Not sure what you're saying ouch to, but or how much I don't like these movies. Maybe you're saying that. I don't know. But yeah, he was good, of course, and he kind of held that film together for the most part, in my opinion. I know a lot of people saying they like Chop Top, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Um, so he's Jim Seedow was to me the best thing about that film. He was good. You could tell he put his heart and soul into his performance. I didn't even. Well, I'll just stick with the things I do like first. I do like the protagonist actress. Her name was Stretch, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. It has been a while since I've seen this. I've only seen this one 2 or 3 times, guys. So if I forget things, Oh, to the review of TCM2. Do you like TCM2, Scotty P? Scotty Parkin? Do not try to emulate that Leatherface. Please do not. No, I'm saying some positive things about giving my positive things. I like Jim Seedow and the girl that played Stretch. Is there anything else I really like about it? I like the opening scene with the guys in the car the guy gets his, that was kind of cool. Um, that's about it. I really didn't like that film. Um, it definitely is below a 5 for me. 5 out of 10. As a horror comedy, I guess it's not bad. Um, for people that like that, it's not the worst. It's not the worst. I mean, there are entertaining moments because it's not taking itself too seriously. It's definitely self-aware of what it is. Um, and that sort of makes it a little bit higher. There's some entertainment value there because of that. Um, but really, that's all the good I can give it. That's really is all the good I can give it. Now, I'll probably get some hate here. I don't like Chop Top. I don't. And I totally respect anybody who does. I know he brings some entertainment, but to me, Chop Top just comes across like a cartoon character. He's like he kind of reminds me of the Beetlejuice cartoon character. Uh, really, he okay, Nurse Marie, Leatherface in part 2. He is my fave, but the thing I didn't like about it is that he did that stupid dance all the time. Yeah, they went a little over top with that dance, didn't they? That's okay. And hey, that's okay, liking Leatherface in part 2. I didn't like Leatherface in part 2 either. I didn't like the look of him. I didn't like the mask. I didn't like the way they kind of made him feel like he's overly dumb and goofy and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I think that was the first movie they called him Bubba in too, right? I don't know. I don't like hearing him being called Bubba. I just like hearing him being called Leatherface, and in a kind of subtly too. But you know, hey, it's still my third favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Everybody, it is. So I guess it can't be that bad, eh? And that's okay. It's okay. Uh, it really, you guys got to realize, it really is my love for the original is why I'm doing a fan film. And my hope to bring something back in that kind of nature. This has been 46 years now, ladies and gentlemen. 46 years. Only 7 other films have come out in that 46 years. It almost feels like 7 too many, though. I wish I could say it was like 7 awesome films, but I can't. But you know, I hope you guys can see more good stuff in those films than I am. And tell me what you like about, you know, Nurse Marie. What do you like about Leatherface in Part 2? Let me know. Let me know. I would like to know what you like. Is it the way he looks? Is there certain characteristics that you like? I'm interested because I never found Leatherface the same as he was. Well, he's definitely not the same, and maybe that's why. Maybe, you know, if you're looking for a goofier version of that character, it makes sense. Um, but but it doesn't feel right for that character to me to be that sort of way. But it's all good. Oh, Scotty P's got to go. Have fun. Scare you later. Well, okay. You can watch the rest of this later. Thank you, Scotty, for joining. That's our Leatherface in our film, everybody. Scotty P. Scotty Parkin. He's thank you for joining us for a bit on the chat there, Scotty. We know you're going to make an awesome Leatherface. And far bigger than the last Leatherface that we've seen. Anyways, moving on to my next favorite film in the series, and that is Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. Now, this is one of those films twice. I think I've seen it twice, and the first time is honestly a complete blur. The second time, it was a hard watch. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was just hard for me to get through. And it's hard for me to remember a lot of the stuff that happens in that film. You never know. I could rewatch it now. The last time I saw it was probably 8 years ago. So it's been a while. It has been a while since I've seen Part 2. Maybe even 9 years ago. I can't even remember for sure. 8 or 9 years ago I saw it. And maybe there's stuff I didn't quite pick up on it. I don't know. Wow. You will be number 8. Great number. So it's hard. It's one of those films I kind of want to even look back at again. Because I remember there being certain things I was liking. It had that sort of gritty, realistic feel like the original did. It felt like they were trying to go back to that. I just found the story incredibly boring. You know, you get past like the first 20 minutes and it's like, it starts to drag. It's like, when are we going to see Leatherface? That's what it felt like. I was like waiting for Leatherface to show up. And he shows up and I don't know. I don't like the looks they keep giving. They keep changing Leatherface's look. And it never feels realistic like the original did. That has been my problem with a lot of those films. Is he just doesn't feel realistic anymore. You know. Oh, Nurse Marie, I like him sweet and also kind of mean to like. I like both sides, huh? Yanni, sorry I'm late. No, good to have you here, bud. Thank you for making it. We are ranking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. Since you're just tuning in. Marianka says, bye, Scotty. Scotty was our Leatherface. Yanni, you missed our new Leatherface, but you knew our old Leatherface very well. Yanni actually was in the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film that I made, which was coincidentally the very first film I ever made. It was called First Annual Barbecue. It might still be online somewhere. I'm not sure. It was a 30-minute short. It was my first film. It was fun though, right? Right, Yanni? He had a lot of fun making it. I did. He was an actor in it. He played one of the main characters. Yeah, it was a good experience. It was fun, but at the same time, I can look back at that and really laugh at it. Whew. There's a lot of mistakes, a lot of mistakes we made. Definitely grown as a filmmaker over the last 8 years. That was about 8 years ago, wasn't it? Holy smokes. Geez, time flies. But, got to start somewhere. Anybody who's afraid to get into filmmaking, hey, all I can say is just give it a try. You know what? I took the leap. You can too, And if you can listen to people criticize your work and learn from it, then you have a chance of getting better. Because that's how believe me, a lot of people criticized my first film, our little Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film. And that's great, because I learned from it. I definitely learned from the critiques I got. Yeah, so thank you, Yanni, for being a part of that film. And hopefully, maybe I'll see if I can find it and post it online one of these days. It was online, and now I don't know what I did with it. It's somewhere. I probably have it in a USB drive somewhere. Nurse Marie, what I like about him and in part 2 is that he's just so sweet, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I don't know. I think he's adorable. Am I weird? I get that. That's cool. That's very cool. I get that. I guess for me, it's I don't want Leatherface sweet. I want Leatherface scary. I want to be scared the fuck out of that guy. I'm serious. Because the idea of Leatherface, who he is and Leatherface, what he does, to me, that is what makes him so scary. Oh, Yanni, you have it saved on your PC. I know I have a copy somewhere, but I'll definitely post it at some point. I know I have it somewhere, but yeah, maybe if you want to post it online, if you want to post it on YouTube, Yanni, go ahead. It was a 30-minute film we made for $1,500, and we shot different stuff at different times. I don't know. It was the continuity was pretty off. That's for sure. But I get a good laugh at it. There are some good moments, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, I know that the Sawyer Massacre is going to be far better. Definitely. And just remind me, we're like $125 off of our goal, everybody. I would love to see if we can, if I could check the status at the end of this stream and see us there, see us at that goal. So the link should be in the description. If you haven't clicked on it and checked out our Indiegogo campaign, the link should be in the description. If not, let me know. If it's not in the description, I did put it there when I pre-did this whole live stream stuff. Again, I'm pretty new at the live stream thing though, so who knows? I may have messed that up. But if the link is in the description, if you haven't backed it already, back it now. I'd love to hit that goal before this stream ends. We got 28 days left though. A lot of time. I know a lot of people have told me, yeah, I'll be sending money soon. That's cool. But share it. If you don't have money to back it right now, that's cool. But share it. Share it as much as you can on all your social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that cool stuff. There you go. Moving on in my review. Yeah, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Again, it's just kind of forgettable to me. There were some good moments. I liked the very beginning when you see him making the mask and all. That was cool. lot of it is just very forgettable to me. It was just a very forgettable film. Um, it felt like they didn't know where to go with it. Is really what it felt. I know Viggo Mortensen is in it, and he was cool and all. Um, but ultimately, it was not a film that. It's not. It was a hard watch. I guess it's the best way I could put it. It was a hard watch. It didn't have terrible acting. It didn't have great acting, but it didn't have terrible acting. But it was a real hard watch for me. For me, it was. Tell me your thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, the first one that was called Leatherface. Moving on. So this one I've seen a few times too, and that was the beginning, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre beginning. So this is 5th on my list. So the prequel to the remake is what it was. Late horror show. Hey Steve, how's the indie going? The Indiegogo going? We're about $125 short of our first goal, so help us get there. Links should be in the description. I'd like to get to that first goal of 3K by the end of the show if possible. Totally understand if we don't, but it's the way she goes sometimes. But if you can't back it now, share it on all your social media. So we really want to get there. And then after that, I can start look at paying my cast and crew. That would be awesome, eh? To pay everybody. And looking at making some cool special effects and everything. Because even hitting this goal, our special effects will be a little bit limited. But hey, you know what? The Indiegogo is not going too bad so far. 28 days left, and we've raised almost 3K. I want to hit that 3K though, guys. So I'll check it right now and just see if we've moved up at all. So click on that. Yeah, if I was going to rate Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, probably only rate it, I don't know, about a 3 out of 10, guys. That's about where I am on that film. And probably only that because, it had that gritty feel. It had some decent acting in it. So it's not terrible. Someday I need to make a short. Hey, go for it. That's where I started, Go make a short. Pick other people's brains in the film industry if you can. Thank you. Just inspired me to finally make my own. That's what I hope to do, From the trailer, this sure deserves to meet its goal. It definitely does. You know what? It does. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like our trailer. Because we shot that trailer in one day. We shot all that footage in one day. 4 locations, like an hour and a half drive between locations. It was a grueling day. I cut the trailer that way specifically though because I wanted to make sure it looked like a feature-length film. I didn't want people thinking this could be a short. So that's why I made I made a trailer rather than a teaser ultimately. I really do think that our trailer actually classifies as a trailer rather than a teaser. It's 1.5 minutes long, so it's longer than any teaser, pretty much. And it shows a full scope, and you get a little bit of you get more interaction, more dialogue. So that's why we did that. Anyways, talking about the beginning now. Yeah, so I saw the beginning when it came out. I thought maybe they did something better with this one. And I was already starting to come up with my prequel ideas already. So I wanted to see if they're going anywhere near with what I'm doing. Very cool. Thanks guys. Thanks for all the chats, guys. Hard to keep up with you guys in the chat. Very true. I also like him scary too. I definitely have to agree with you. Yeah, and I get that sort of comedic look to it. There's a place in horror for horror comedies, right? There's definitely a place in the horror world for them, and I do actually love a good horror comedy. I'm a big fan of Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. I don't know if any of you have seen that one. It's not that great, really, but it's actually the trailer is better than the film itself. If you haven't seen Dude Bro Party Massacre 3, you should check it out. It's actually quite funny. Yeah, the beginning. So they really upped the gore and stuff in the beginning. They kind of, I feel like they went a little too far with certain things. Not in a scary sense. It was like more gore, more backstory, which it wasn't a really backstory. It was kind of half-assed backstory because you didn't get a lot of backstory in the you didn't get any backstory in the remake. So they were trying to like loosely tie up, give it an origin story. Which to me, you should either give it an origin story or don't. It's like they didn't really know which way they wanted to go, and that it felt kind of forced, showing Leatherface's birth and I don't know. Um, the sheriff who was so Arlie Ermy was so freaky, it was creepy, so creepy and scary in the remake. One of the things I like the most about the remake came off more goofy in the beginning to me. You know, it's it to me it did. So it wasn't his acting. I think it was really how it was directed. At the end of the day, it was the way the film was directed, and you know, the sheriff was a little bit too goofy for me. And seeing all that stuff with Leatherface being born and how getting the chainsaw for the first. Oh, by the way, that chainsaw definitely did not exist in 1969 or even the 1970s. I believe I looked that up, and I believe it came out in the that particular model came out in the 90s. But it looks big and badass, all right? So we got to have a big badass chainsaw. Whereas me, if I get the right production budget, I will definitely be scoping for a 1950s chainsaw. Definitely. I've already found the one I want. At least, well, I found pictures of the one I want. I'll be asking around, where do I get this one? How much is it going to cost me to find a working one? Because it looks damn cool. I don't know why people wouldn't want to go with an older chainsaw. They just look really cool. Just my opinion. Yeah, that's about all I can really say about the beginning. They put the cannibalism back into that film, which they didn't have any of in the remake, not even in a subtle way. And I get that's okay. They probably wanted to make it disturbing in their own way, but that's okay. But in the beginning, the cannibalism was like forced in. It's like not subtle at all, and that's what kind of bothers me about it. It wasn't subtle like it was in the original. You know, it was very subtle in the original. In fact, a lot of people probably didn't get that it was these guys were cannibals when they first watched it. You had to kind of understand the subtleties about it. It was at no point in the original did anyone say we're gonna eat you or we're gonna eat your friends. The closest thing we got in dialogue was probably the hitchhiker saying he's just a cook. That probably is. That's at least that's the closest thing I could think of to giving away that these are cannibals. Is he's just a cook. As far as dialogue, anyways. But what you do see some pretty gnarly stuff. Grandpa sucking on Sally's finger, which was her real blood, by the way. That's when you realize that, it's like ooh. But the subtle stuff, Sally in the gas station after being chased for 20 minutes of the film and just out of it, and she looks up at the barbecue cooking, and it's like you can kind of put two and two together. This barbecue is not just regular barbecue. It's yeah, but nothing was said. It's just facial reactions from Sally, just like kind of putting it together in her head. I think that kind of stuff is great. Her performance, Marilyn Burns' performance in that scene, doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, her performance in the dinner table scene is great. Obviously, it's second to none. But in the gas station, it was so realistic. She looks so panicking. It's great stuff. You don't see stuff like that anymore. You don't. I haven't seen a performance like that for a long time. Just saying. Moving on, because that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The beginning. Yeah, a lot of gore and stuff. Leatherface mask he wore was kind of cool too, but I don't know. Still doesn't quite do it for me like the original. So now getting into the bad stuff here. These last three films here, guys, they're pretty bad. Um, so we're gonna do this now. This is probably gonna be an elephant in the room for some people, but number 6 on my list is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. I know a lot of people would have this one at the bottom, but I'll tell you what I like about it. Now, there's a lot to hate, obviously, but tell you this: what I like about The Next Generation, I guess it's Matthew McConaughey's performance. He makes it somewhat entertaining. I never like to say that about Matthew McConaughey because he actually made the worst film ever, in my opinion. A little movie called Surfer Dude. That was the biggest waste of time I ever sat through. Holy crap, was that ever a bad movie? But yeah, Surfer Dude. Oh, don't watch it. All I can say if it's so bad. Anyways, but his performance in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation was entertaining. I could get entertained by him in that, and that made it kind of watchable. It was definitely really goofy, really over the top. Leatherface was just horrendous in that film. Just the way the character was. No, I can't get behind that film. But again, Matthew McConaughey made it interesting. Wasn't a lot of kills in that film, and I don't think there was any chainsaw kills. You got a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film with a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's not a single kill with a chainsaw. There was chainsaw in it, but nobody got killed by it. From my memory, anyways. I gotta be honest, I actually like when they give villains backstories to let us know where they came from. I do that to my own characters sometimes, but I always think to myself, am I doing too much? Hey, yeah, I hear ya. And I think there are some villains that could use backstories. But for me, and again, this is all just my opinion, when I know too much about a character, I find them less scary. The mystique is gone. What is their motivation? When you actually know what their motivation is and all that stuff, it becomes less scary, and you can kind of look for their weaknesses a little bit. So I mean, I like my good characters to have, be well developed and have enough story to them. My victims and feel likable, and that's what we're doing with our film. By the way, like, this is the way I wrote our film, was that our victims, we'll call them all victims because they're all victims in some way, whether they live or die. All of them have an interesting story, an interesting life, have their own life, and they all come across, I think they all come across pretty likable. It could depend on how we execute it and everything. And if we have some crappy actor playing one of the characters, and it might come off annoying, who knows? But that's what I like, is knowing my characters and then the mystery of who the hell is chasing them and killing them. I love that's just me though. Anyways, back to the list. But I respect your opinion, Nurse Marie. I know a lot of people like that. A lot of people like the Halloween remake. I didn't need all that stuff for Michael Myers' background. I didn't need it. It just made him less scary to me. You can make him big as you want, but Michael Myers never needed to be big. He didn't. Yeah. Anything else I could really say about Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation? Not really, guys. This is a bad film. Comment if you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. I know that there are some people out there that do like it. LOL, Surfer Dude. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, don't. It was the worst hour and a half of my life. It's definitely an hour and a half. I actually really do try to avoid bad movies at all costs. and I saw that movie, and I saw that movie because I had a roommate that brought it home with him from work one day. It was just so we watched it on our TV, and you kept thinking it was going to get better. Never did. No, no. Anyways, moving on. So last two. So the worst of the worst. So for number 7, and the number 7 film is Leatherface from 2017. God, I hated that film. God, I hated that film. And again, origin story again, knowing about Leatherface, and I didn't believe for a second that that would be the story of Leatherface. You know, it's like they tried to pull a gotcha on that one. That's what it felt like to me. They're trying to trick me, but he didn't trick me. You know, because it was too obvious to me you know, it was too obvious that it was going to be the character that was nothing like Leatherface, you know. Anyways, I'm a big fan of The Godfather. It's like my second favorite film of all time, in there anyways. And the story of Michael Corleone, from how he goes from hating his family to becoming his family by the end, in nearly a 3-hour movie, it seems seamless. It's a seamless transition from him slowly developing into the character he said he never would become. That, you know, that's what they tried to do with Leatherface in 2017's Leatherface. They tried to give him a Michael Corleone treatment. And it was so... it was so forced. It didn't seem natural at all. It was totally unbelievable. You know, anyways, if there's anything good I can say about that film, some of the acting was good. You know, even some of the good actors had some terrible dialogue, though. It was just riddled with flaws. I could go on and on for hours, but I don't want to go on and on for hours. But in the chat again, tell me what you like about that film. If any of you guys do like the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre film they made, Leatherface from 2017, let me know. I hated it though. I really hated it, but not as much as I hated this last film. Boy, oh boy, Texas Chainsaw 3D from 2012, I believe. Yeah, 2012, right? Or 2013. I can't remember. I wish I never saw this movie in theater. I didn't see Leatherface in theater while they had a very limited theatrical run, apparently. But I watched it online for free. I was not going to pay for that one, not after Texas Chainsaw 3D. And I wish I'd never paid for Texas Chainsaw 3D because I wish I'd never paid to see that film because I knew going in it was going to be terrible. I had seen the trailer. I had seen like footage from the film. They were showing like little clips of the film, and I hated every second of that. I almost think to myself, why did I even bother to see it? And I have to say, I can't believe I paid money to see that film. I actually can't believe I paid money to see Texas Chainsaw 3D because it is riddled with terrible, terrible, terrible things. And and most people complain about the timeline. Yeah, it's bad, but if that's not really the worst thing about it. Thank you. You love my honesty. I get pretty brutally honest sometimes. But I hated that sort of anti-hero angle for Leatherface, trying to turn him into the good guy. I hated the characters and a lot of the acting. The acting, like 90% of the acting in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw 3D was awful, And I knew it was not going to be a good movie, yet I still went and saw it. Hoping. And people online were saying, "Oh, I think it's going to be good because they're going to pick it up right after the original and all that stuff." I'm like, okay, that could be cool. How are they going to do it? On the timeline, yeah, that's the timeline in that movie is pretty awful, but and I wanted to believe these people that it was going to be a good movie, but I saw it, and I went and saw Texas Chainsaw 3D, like pretty much opening day. I went and saw it in 3D, which, you didn't have a choice. You had to see that movie in 3D, at least here in Canada, you did. That was the only option. You couldn't see it in 2 days, so you had to pay the extra money to see it in 3D. And by the way, guys, I don't know your opinion, but to me, the 3D in that movie was just a massive cash grab. It really was. I have to rant about that film because the 3D in that film wasn't even good. It really wasn't good. I mean, and oh God, the acting in that film. The dialogue, well, they didn't have good dialogue to work with. There's the "do your thing, cuz" line, of course. And then when the black guy and the other girl are in the barn or whatever, and Leatherface is trying to cut through the door, and she shoots a "welcome to Texas, motherfucker," you know. And the guy's like, "Did you hit it?" And she's like, "I don't know." And then he said, "Did you hit it?" "I don't know." And like, it was terrible. The screaming was so forced. I never thought I would, you know what? It did the impossible. Because to that point, I thought it was absolutely impossible to make a worse film than Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Honestly, I really I'm dying. You were so funny. Am I funny? I don't know. But I truly did. I thought it was actually impossible to make a worse film than that. But, and I won't mention the company's name, but they did the impossible twice, in my opinion. Both Texas Chainsaw 3D and Leatherface 2017 are worse. To me, they're all pretty bad films, but to me, those two films are even worse than The Next Generation. They did the impossible, and they did it twice. Lightning can strike twice. The big shit turd lightning, in my opinion. Anyways, that's my rankings, everybody. You guys can give me your rankings. Put your rankings in if you're still in the chat. I see Marianka is. I'm not sure who else is still in the chat, but thank you guys for hanging around. Okay, the 2017 one is just way too much. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, give me your rankings. I would like to see your guys' rankings. I was not impressed with. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I am a fan of the original. I'm a massive fan of the original. It's the scariest film ever made, and that's all I can say about it. It truly is the scariest horror film ever made, and the only one that actually disturbs. I actually find it disturbing. And I found it disturbing before I even got a lot of all of the little subtle nuances. There was just a really disturbing feel to that whole film, and I will praise that film to the end of time, but I will bash the. I don't know if bashing is the right word, but I will bash those other films. I don't know. I will not say nice things about the other films in the series. But I totally respect everybody's opinions. It's just these are mine, and it is art. It is subjective. At the end of the day, it is art, and we're all going to feel differently about certain films in the franchise, and that's cool. That's totally cool. If you do love the original, though, all I can say is back our campaign, because our campaign is really going to be, our film is going to be a lot like the original. Totally different story, but it's going to have that same feel. And we are definitely giving it a very a very interesting new layer. Let's leave it at that, because we had to find a way to make it disturbing. Again, make it disturbing, because that's what every other film is making, but not copy why the original was disturbing, if you know what I mean. But it still feels like it's very similar in that vein, in that regards, because yeah, the original, you can't remake the original, in my opinion. You can try, but you're never going to recapture what the original did. So we have our own film for sure, and I think you're gonna dig the way we do it. So help us get to that 3K mark, everybody. We're just $125 off of that. Just $125 off of that mark. So help us get there. Link should be in the description. If not, sorry. Again, my first time really trying to do these live streams, so hopefully they're okay. But you guys have been awesome, and I'll see you at the next live stream, which will be next week sometime. I'll announce it Friday, Saturday, one of those days probably. We're probably looking at late next week for the next one. So you guys have been an awesome, awesome, awesome chat tonight. Oh, before Nurse Marie said something, I didn't really like the 3D because it kind of made us feel bad for Leatherface. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, exactly. It's the anti-hero angle, right? Yeah, I didn't. I want to be scared of my victims, not feeling sympathy for them. Or scared of my my antagonists or my Did I say villains or victims? I can't remember now. I think it's been too long now. Thank you guys. I really appreciate all you guys in the chat. And again, put your rankings below if you can, or maybe you can't think of, but you can put them in the comments later. Put your rankings. Thank you, everybody. My name is Steve Merlo. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Merlo's Movie Massacre. We'll see you all next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.